Thank you so much for joining us for another WOW webinar. My name is Nora Luongo, and I am on the internal marketing team here at Whereoware. If this is your first webinar with us, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. I hope you all are faring this cold weather and snow in different parts of the country. It's been a little bit of a crazy winter here. But with that, we're gonna get started with 3 steps to a successful 2018 marketing strategy. A couple of you have been asking. We will be sending the slides, the webinar recording, and an asset, a 3-step checklist out after the webinar, either today or tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that. And with that, I'm going to kick it over to Faith to take it away.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Really looking forward to giving you guys a quick kickoff to your 2018 marketing strategy. Hopefully you've started a little bit, but if you're like a lot of our customers, sometimes the new year can sneak up on you. So we're ready to kick off your strategy for the year and give you some great ideas. Hopefully you'll get some great takeaways. We will have opportunity for questions and answers at the end, so please feel free to write in that little chat panel if you've got a question about something that I'm talking about, or if you just want some free good marketing strategy advice, we're always here to help. A little bit about Whereoware. We are a digital agency with over 17 years of experience. We create personalized websites, email campaigns, SEO and pay-per-click, all the digital marketing strategy you could ask for. We also create cloud-based solutions and mobile applications, as well as specializing in custom data integration. So we'll actually be talking to some of those data pieces today as well, and I know that that's a big pain point for a lot of our customers who are really trying to make their marketing strategy work because data runs the world. So listen for more on that. Here's just a couple of examples of some of our clients. As you can see, we work with both B2B and B2C customers across a lot of different verticals. There's a lot of opportunity for us to learn from other industries, and we really pride ourselves on being able to take strategies from one industry and apply them to another, just to try something new. So look at the agenda for today. We're going to start by taking a look back at 2017, looking at some of the main metrics and seeing how everything went from a kind of global perspective from the digital channel last year. We'll give you some ideas on how to keep that momentum going in Q1, the first couple months of the year. We'll note some items to optimize your marketing now, and then how to take your marketing to the next level, a little bit more advanced techniques, tools, and strategies. And then finally, we will mention some tools that you might want to consider for success this year, some things to take your marketing to that next level. So we'll start with our look back at 2017. Holiday sales grew almost 5% in 2017, and this is the largest year-over-year increase we've seen since 2011. So while that metric is just focusing on the holidays, I'm really seeing the strongest growth in the last 10 years in sales in electronics and appliances, home furniture and furnishings, home improvement, jewelry. There's all kinds of categories that we have seen a huge growth, especially when it comes to e-commerce. This next chart shows retail and e-commerce growth over the last 10 years. This is not necessarily new information, but as you can see, we had a big spike in e-commerce growth really in 2017. As you can see, the e-commerce as a percentage of total sales has continued to grow, in the past 10 or so years. And really recently, you can see that the total percentage of retail sales, e-commerce has really grown to be a huge percentage of the total sales. So definitely something to take into consideration when you're planning. In addition, the e-commerce sales on mobile devices versus on a desktop, this chart will show in that light blue how mobile sales have continued to grow. And you'll see that in 2016, mobile hovered around 17%, and by Q3 of 2017, it was at 23% of total online sales. So that's something that you definitely want to continue to look into within this year. Hopefully you've started to take mobile seriously and include it as a major part of your digital strategy. But I really think if you hesitated on any of that, 2018 is truly the year to focus on mobile and take some new strategies into perspective of how you can really tap in to the different types of users that are going to shop on a mobile device, you know, how they're really going to interact and convert on mobile versus what type of engagement they might have if they're viewing on mobile and then later converting on a desktop. So as you can see here in the CPG realm, Amazon continues to have an extremely strong influence with Walmart and eBay being close behind. And you can see kind of the percentage of time that's spent, you know, from the mobile space on a mobile website versus an application. So this is also something to take into consideration that if you don't have a mobile application, and that is potentially something that you have a lot of e-commerce customers, you might want to consider getting an app. A lot of these retailers have gotten an app, and you can see that some are very effective with that app and some not so much. So definitely take a look at doing that in 2018 if you have a large percentage of mobile customers, and work on those strategies to drive people to download that app if that's something that is relevant to your business. Okay, so you really want to start the year out on the right foot. You worked so hard on your marketing during the holidays and in Q4 really to get that momentum into the end of the year, but don't lose fuel now. This is definitely the time to plan out for the entire year and keep that momentum going into January. So keep in mind that 20% of shoppers will spend 23% of their budget after December 25th. So, you know, just because you got through the holiday season doesn't mean you're done yet. In the marketing world, we really are never done. So it's definitely something that you want to get started with your best New Year's strategy yet. You want to make a plan of how you're going to be even more successful this year than you were last year. So the first thing that we're going to look at is setting a benchmark, looking at what worked and what didn't work for your company in 2017. Were there any bottlenecks? Are there things that you did that were successful or unsuccessful? Things that you would want to look at to either do again or avoid doing if they weren't that successful. You definitely want to look at your reports, and we'll kind of dig into that a little bit deeper here too. Creating your goals in your 2018 plan. I really recommend setting goals for yourself. It's something that will help you with your manager to show the impact that you've had with your marketing plan on revenue, on conversion rates, all that kind of thing. And it really helps, you know, your department grow and management to understand what you plan to accomplish. And with those goals, you want to stay even more organized with a task list. So what's your plan to reach those goals? What technologies are you going to use to reach those goals? How are you going to track your progress? Those can all be very effective things to creating that plan throughout the entire year. The third thing that we always recommend is kind of cleaning house. Typically what a lot of people call spring cleaning, we like to use January as a good date to clean your product and email data, clean your databases, and we'll talk a little bit to what that means and how you can start the year off with the most fresh and relevant data for your business. So we'll look initially at setting a benchmark. You want to look at your reports to see what did and didn't do well in 2017. This is a screenshot of Google Analytics, an excellent tool and free tool if you're not using it already. Your channel report will show you how people responded through each of these channels. So you'll want to look at some of these metrics to see what did well and what didn't do as well. Looking at the channels that were very effective in driving new sessions, for example, you might want to set a benchmark to say, you know, we did this last year, how can we do better this year? Identifying the areas that are, you know, where your conversions are not as successful and identifying how you can increase those. Maybe looking at a different channel and how that conversion rate is higher and seeing if there is any opportunity to kind of mimic what you're doing on other channels to increase your key performance indicators on the channels that are not performing as well. In addition, it's really, really great to set that benchmark to kind of take a snapshot of how 2017 went, and sometimes this can change by quarter. So definitely consider, you know, doing quarterly reports, or maybe, you know, if you have a very high business time throughout the year, that you might want to set a specific benchmark for that time frame, but really use that as your goal for the year. And again, that will really help, you know, with management when you're reporting on progress, and you'll be able to show your increase and improvement from those goals. With setting those benchmarks, you can see these channels in a benchmark report. So green showing what increased, red showing what decreased. it really gives you a visual representation to see how you did and how, really this is a change kind of year over year. So it gives you the opportunity to look and see what's going to be the most successful for you and looking at specific time frames. So again, you can do this, looking at 2017 versus 2016 year over year. You can also look at individual quarters for this information, or even during individual campaigns if you had a big sales push during a certain month or even a shorter time frame, to really look and see how those metrics change throughout those time frames. So take this time to write it all down. Set your benchmarks, have a key place to go off of, and that way when you create your plan for marketing for the remainder of the year, you kind of have something to refer back to in terms of your key performance indicator. So take an idea and take kind of a list of what frustrated you in 2017. So in the project management process, it often ends in a lessons learned or a recap, and I feel like in marketing we kind of skip that sometimes. We plan and we execute, and sometimes there's reporting, but a lot of times we don't do that lessons learned. So use this time to identify what didn't do well in 2017. Maybe it has nothing to do with your marketing, it more has to do with internal resources, any inefficiencies that you had, any wasted resources, any projects that just didn't get off the ground. Start to tally those things up and try and identify what you'll be able to do in 2018. So again, once you set those benchmarks, you can create your goals. So once you've identified, here's what our benchmark was in 2017, what is our goal for 2018? And this can be across a variety of different categories. It can be, goal conversions, goal completions, identifying what your revenue goals are, what your conversion goals are. There's a lot of opportunities, and even in addition to that, your key performance indicators can be just completion of certain projects. Like I said, I know frequently we'll start a project in 2017, and due to budget restrictions, time restrictions, resource restrictions, we're not able to complete those projects. So definitely use this opportunity to set that goal for, okay, when are we going to finally complete this project? What's it going to take to get there? And then how does our marketing program potentially change based off of completing that goal? So I really love the opportunity to create those goals, and you can even create it within Google Analytics, creating some SMART goals to identify what process you want your customers to go through and what those benchmarks will really look like. So in creating that plan, there's a lot of great websites and different software tools that you can use to keep track of your tasks. Whether you're going to use a more complicated project management solution or something as simple as Google Docs, this is really an opportunity to break down your strategic goals into specific tactics of how to get there, and also tying some measurements to those tactics. So are your marketing campaigns working? Are you meeting your goals that you had set that were based off of those benchmarks? There's a lot of opportunities for success here, and we highly recommend using a strategic tool to keep track of all that information. You want to consider cleaning house. So if you've got products on your website, this is a really wonderful opportunity to update your product titles and descriptions. One thing that I always recommend to our clients is do a quick search, and if you had mentioned 2017 or winter or Christmas or anything like that in any of your product descriptions, to go ahead and remove that content and make it more relevant for 2018. Sometimes people don't even realize that they wrote something, and so do a quick find and replace, or make it more relevant again for this year. But really use this opportunity to identify how you can improve that user experience, focusing on the customer values and ensuring that your product descriptions are concise and easy to scan. Consider implementing bullet points or additional details if you haven't done that. If you've got kind of a simple product description, consider including main keywords that will really help to sell that product, and updating any product titles for trends that you've seen that were successful or weren't successful. Again, that kind of does require a little bit more detail, drill down from kind of a search engine optimization and even internal site search perspective. But if you set that goal and say, okay, this week I'm going to tackle all of these, then it's going to be a lot more digestible to set a specific goal, specific plan, and here's exactly what I'm going to get to. So looking at your emails, you want to look at kind of looking at that cleaning house. Again, this is part of taking that benchmark, but looking at some of your continuous campaigns that you have been sending throughout the year and see what worked and didn't work. So kind of looking at some main metrics, identifying what was functioning and what wasn't functioning, what programs haven't been sending. Maybe there's a problem with the automation on those pieces. In addition, maybe there's a campaign that's not optimized. So maybe your click-through rate is really low, or your open rate is not where you really want it to be based off of your benchmarks. And this is a great opportunity to switch it up, do some A/B testing, or, lack of timing on A/B testing. Honestly, you can run a different subject line for a month and see what the effect was without having to, build out some complicated programs to test 2 different subject lines on an automated program. There's some easy tactics you can use to try something out, pause, look at your metrics, and then make additional implementations from there. So again, great opportunities to make that plan throughout the year, that maybe if you plan to look at those metrics once a month and see how the progress has changed within that month, to see if you need to make some additional adjustments there. In terms of cleaning things up though, a lot of times this is something that we like to look at programs that are just really underperforming. Maybe you're sending out a lot of emails throughout the year that are an automated program, but they just aren't converting. This is definitely the opportunity to take a look at it and revise it, or sometimes just trash the campaign if it's not going to be effective and it's not worth your time to really update it at that point. So this is a great opportunity to take a look at those concepts. So in addition to this, you want to look at those subject lines that were not effective, looking at your open rates. Again, something that is pretty easy to edit, and looking at your calls to action. Sometimes it's as simple as changing a button, the copy that's on the button, or maybe changing where the button appears within an email. There's a lot of opportunities here to modify those things and make some really effective changes, learning from the subject lines that did work, and then applying those learnings to other emails, whether they are one-off or continuous. In addition, you really want to clean your data. I can't stress this enough, because throughout the year, there's a good likelihood that you've been able to acquire a good number of leads or customers, and the information may be a little wonky in your database. So make sure you've removed any invalid emails or updated them manually if you are aware of what those are. Take an inventory of your marketing database and identify any unused fields or underutilized fields. So in some cases, you might have, let's say, a customer preferences form, and you send it out to everyone, and you've got this concept that, okay, everyone's filled out our customer preferences form. But you might find out that only 5% of your database has actually filled out that form. So while you've taken the steps to get their preferences, it's not being as effective as it could be, just because you don't know that information for some of those customers. So identify some strategies to kind of fill in the blanks where needed. And if it's not needed, a great example of that a lot of times in the B2C realm is address, for example. You're probably not going to send them something to their direct address if most of your marketing campaigns are digitally based. So don't worry so much about gathering that type of information, but you might want to have other specific information, such as birth date. So, in this example, birth date is pretty much blank for everyone in the database, and maybe you don't need it, but maybe one of your goals for this year is to have a birthday campaign. So one strategy some of our customers have used is sending out an email to their customer base saying, we want to send you a gift or promotion on your birthday, but we don't know when it is. Fill out this form for a free gift on your birthday, and really continues to ask people for that information rather than just saying, oh, we don't have it. Trying to identify some opportunities to gather that information, and you'll be more effective in that way as well. Okay, so second step, optimize your marketing. So this is really an opportunity to kind of move forward. What's the next step in this process? You want to look at your company website. So, this is obviously going to be a very, very important part of your business. But from Retail Touchpoints, the website was the top channel at 83% of respondents that they conduct business on their company website. That's up from 77% in last year's survey. So people are progressively going towards moving to digital channels. And we really expect that number to continue to grow. As offline channels kind of begin to dwindle a little bit, and online is really king at this point. So looking at some things you can do to optimize your marketing, we highly recommend segmenting your audience into personas. I know that we've got some great resources for this on our blog. I believe we actually have a checklist. So if you are new to personas, it's definitely something that you can check out and identify how to kind of segment your audience into that. You definitely want to add an email sign-up list if you don't have that form on your website already or on your social channels that's relevant. You definitely want to add that, and we'll talk to that a little bit in just a moment. Again, optimize for mobile if you haven't already. The statistics show that it's really, really important. So if you haven't done it, we'll show you some ways to get that done. And then test. We're always going to recommend testing. Subject lines, copy, calls to action, landing pages. The testing process is never over. So it's something that, like I said, testing can be a lengthy process, but it doesn't have to be. So setting goals for yourself, maybe planning to do one test per month for the whole year. You'll end the year with a good set of results. If you're able to do more than one per month, great. But sometimes it's better to plan those out and kind of extend them over time rather than planning a huge testing plan in Q1 and only getting to 25% of it. So set a reasonable goal for yourself and work to execute on that goal. So a quick example of some persona personalization that you might want to take a look at on your website. This is an example of one of our client Sullivans. And here's a great example that on the left, it shows the default Sullivan's homepage that is shown to all what we call unknown visitors. So people that are either anonymous or are visiting the website for the first time. They have cookies disabled. So this is basically the standard for what they would see. And on the right, we have imagery of what the homepage looks like for anyone who is in the seasonal persona. So you can see that the imagery on the website changes, that kind of the bones of the website are the same, but they're seeing very different content based off of the relevant information to them. So this particular client really targets their personas based off of people who buy for seasonal products only for their retail stores. They are a B2B company. So seasonal products only versus kind of everyday or non-seasonal products. And so we're able to really customize that messaging on the website for them. Another great example is using persona personalization within email. So a similar concept here. You can see that on the very left-hand side, the default email has imagery that's showing a bunch of different product lines. In the middle, we're showing the example for the kids persona. So this is people who are more likely to purchase an item for a child. So you'll see that the call to action changes, the imagery changes, and up at the top, we're really changing that copy as well. So this is something that is really easily done, but can really be effective in being really specific with your customers. And then furthermore, on the right-hand side, you've got the living personas, people that are more likely to purchase a living or a home item. Again, similar content that is changing throughout the email, but you don't have to create completely separate emails to achieve this goal either. So consider ways that you can make small tweaks now, and then, consider going a little bit deeper later. So even if right now you are just at the cusp of creating your personas and you just want to create like an A and a B version, you can definitely start there and then iterate later. Maybe you have a goal that 6 months from now, you will add on 2 additional personas or kind of segment your audience even further. Or maybe you don't have the data right now to segment them, but you're planning in the next 6 months to gather that data. And then at that 6-month time frame, you'll be able to actually execute on personalizing some of those elements as well. So looking at email signups, I'm sure you've seen these fun little popovers before, as we all have. This continues to be extremely effective. So having an email sign-up form on your website, very, very important. Definitely make sure that you are optimizing your email sign-up forms for mobile. Google definitely kind of dings you if your email popover takes up too much of the screen size on a mobile device. So that's definitely something you want to have your developer take a look at to make sure that it is kind of optimized with Google's recommendations in mind so that they don't ding you in your search results and you appear lower on the search results due to the lack of mobile compatibility. In addition, if you're using MailChimp for your email sign-up, be aware that they recently changed their double opt-in default to single opt-in. We recently put out a blog post on that, and you can find out more information there on our website or reach out to MailChimp for more information on there. This is really important to take a look at, and obviously in the way that you're collecting that information, make sure that you're optimizing it. This is a great opportunity that you can see on the left-hand side. There's an offer for signing up. Sometimes you'll want to include an offer, sometimes you won't, but make sure that you're testing out what's most effective in getting the conversion on that form itself to get to increase your list, because that should always be a goal, to increase your list size year over year. So again, optimizing your mobile website. So whether you've got kind of a responsive website or one that is really adaptable for mobile, we've seen a lot of push towards making websites more mobile friendly from the start. So kind of designing for mobile first. You'll see in this example that the items that are displayed on a desktop, there's 3 up on a desktop, 2 up on an iPad, and then 1 up on an iPhone. So really working to ensure that the experience is optimized no matter what device your customers are viewing your website on. This is extremely, extremely important. If you haven't done this already, 2018 is the year to do it. In addition, you want to make sure that your emails are optimized as well. So having that great opportunity on the website is really wonderful. But if you don't have responsive emails or at least a scalable email that looks good on mobile, all of your hard work on the website will be for nothing if they click through, if they can't click through on a good email, because they won't even come to your website after that point. So definitely this particular example, the navigation looks the same across all platforms. This is an example of a scalable email, which can be very effective. This tends to have a little bit larger copy than what you might desire on a desktop, but you'll see that it looks very, very good on a mobile device. And this is a really great opportunity as well to see what percentage of your audience is viewing on a mobile device. And you might be surprised to see that well over 50% of your audience is viewing from a mobile device. So although you're designing your emails and working on your marketing campaigns on a desktop, that most of your audience will not have the same view as you. So definitely remind yourself of that kind of throughout the day. And, sometimes I even use my phone to interact with my campaigns to try and see what that user experience looks like, because it is a much different experience than when you're at work working from your desktop or laptop and taking a look from that perspective. So just keep that in mind to change your perspective sometimes, because it can really change how you perceive that user experience. So consider A/B testing. A really great opportunity that we like to see here is changing the call to action. A very, very simple A/B test here. Doesn't require additional creative work from your creative team, which is awesome. I always know that can take a little bit longer, but very simply modifying the call to action is typically a simple text change, very easy within the HTML to test that and see which one is more effective. Make sure that your A/B tests are going to be statistically significant. If you literally Google statistical significance calculator, you can kind of see how many people would need to receive that A/B test to make sure that the decision that you're making on which call to action was most effective is going to be statistically significant enough. And it's fancy. Impress your boss. Say, this metric is statistically significant because we have these results. And overall, you'll be able to kind of make that testing plan seem even more effective if you can talk the talk and walk the walk. Another example here is showing an example of testing an offer. You can see whether people are more likely to redeem the 10% off or 20% off. Spoiler alert, likely the most percentage off is going to get the most conversions. However, you might be able to see that you're actually losing more money by offering 20% off because people would still take the 10% off, and you can really do the math on that one as well to identify which is going to be most effective in terms of your return on ad spend and also really your bottom line. Okay, so taking this to the next level, there's a lot of really more advanced concepts that you can take a look at in 2018. I'm sure you've heard a lot about behavioral marketing. It can get pretty complicated. This is where we really start to get advanced. So if you're ready to take that deep dive and this is the year, then you're in the right place. So related product emails, this can be very effective. So, saying you recently purchased this, you might also be interested in this. There's a lot of great tools out there, third-party tools to, bring into your emails to show those related products. You can also do this manually. It's something that, yes, there's a lot of great tools out there to, automatically show related products. But if you have a smaller product set, or maybe your product data, you're getting that order detail information, the category that they purchased from, you don't necessarily have to have a complicated program to show exact products that are related to that one. You could show more category-based offerings that, you can get those in now and wait until mid through the year when you've got the budget and the time to get all that data running to show the exact products. So in addition, I'm sure you've heard of abandoned cart emails, but we really love to see browse abandonment emails. So this is something, they didn't place an item in their cart necessarily. We know that abandoned cart can be very effective, but also consider doing some browse abandonment emails. Again, this doesn't have to be exact products. It could be category-based. You can do this using some simple web tracking to say they visited this category and didn't make a purchase. That's definitely one option. Again, if you don't have the data to support showing the exact products that they had purchased. But that's definitely something that, again, if you've got the time and the resources to bring that data in, it can be extremely effective in retargeting people and getting them to come back to the website and make that purchase. Re-engagement emails, this is something that can be very effective in either cleaning your list or really just re-engaging those contacts. Most of the time when we are sending these emails out, we really want, our end goal is to clean the list, but also if there's any opportunity to re-engage that customer, we want to find that opportunity. So a lot of times we'll send an email out that's triggered based off of that they haven't opened an email in the last 6 months. Sometimes you want to add some additional information in there that they haven't purchased or had any interaction with your organization within a certain amount of time. But ultimately, we look at this specifically from the email perspective. So even if someone has purchased, but they still haven't been engaging with your emails, ultimately, that could just be an older email address for them. It could be that you're going into spam. It could be that they, love your brand, but don't interact with you on your email channel, and maybe they only interact on social or, on a brick and mortar location, something like that. So this is really an opportunity to identify if there's still a valid email contact and see if you should still be sending to them. Another goal that you should try and set for yourself in 2018 is becoming more predictive, not necessarily reactive. So predicting the future. I know it's definitely a challenge, but there's a lot of artificial intelligence tools that can help you predict what may happen in the future. We'll talk through some of those here. So one example of this is a churn model. So taking into consideration the people who are most likely to churn, so not place another order. Churn can be a lot of different things for different companies, just depending on what your sales cycle and what your conversions typically look like. It will vary. But this is typically, someone that is, they're used to purchasing maybe once every 6 months, and then they go an extended period of time without doing that. Or maybe they're showing behaviors and activities that are showing that they are more likely to not make a purchase again. Maybe that's the lack of behavior in some cases as well. So this is something that, we've worked with some tools to develop for some of our clients to be able to identify and predict when people are going to churn. And then we can automate an email to, entice them to come back and shop. We can give them an offer. We can really encourage them to come back, but really gives us the opportunity to specify that offer to them based off of their activity or lack thereof with the website, with emails, in person, and a lot of different ways just to really maximize that interaction with each customer. Using that same churn model, we have the ability to empower the sales team to see that information as well. So this is really kind of from that B2B space, but being able to see when customers are not likely to purchase anymore. We can send out an alert to your sales force to say, hey, please go contact this customer, call them, email them. Really a multi-touch point strategy for reducing the amount of churn with your customers. So really awesome opportunity there, something you should consider in 2018. So another opportunity that you might want to consider is including some perks for your VIP shoppers. So this is an example from Intermix, an online fashion retailer. They broke down their offers in their life cycle campaigns based off of 3 key segments: VIP shoppers, sales shoppers, and brand shoppers. The most important distinction here is the difference between VIP shoppers and everyone else. Intermix found that by offering the VIP shoppers perks that were not monetary discounts, they were able to increase the profitability of their email remarketing campaigns by 28%. Instead of giving them a coupon, they offer things like invitations to launch events or an early preview of a new line. So definitely consider that it doesn't have to be a specific discount if that's not really your business model. There's always opportunities to offer an incentive to your best customers. This increase in profit margin for them has a dramatic impact on the lifetime value of your customer base. And you can really run predictive models to identify your VIPs earlier in the life cycle to get them happier and spending more sooner. So really identifying those key areas that are going to show you that they're a valuable customer and that you should or should not give them particular offers at specific times. So there's a lot of great opportunity there. Using these predictive models kind of allows you to determine the lowest offer you can provide to an individual to incentivize them to purchase. So we definitely don't want to leave money on the table. So yes, you can A/B test, which is going to be better at 10% or 20% off. But for specific types of customers, the amount of that discount that you want to offer may be different, and we can definitely have some models to predict what is going to be the best offer to give them, and a really great opportunity to not leave any of that money on the table for this year. So it's time to get social. Again, if you haven't already, if you kind of dabbled in social media marketing, again, as people continue to go more mobile, doing more and more business online, and especially from a mobile phone, it's definitely something that they're spending a lot more time on social media as well. And this is a great opportunity to reach out to them, even in the B2B space. So in 2016, there was a 75% increase on retailers' average return on investment for Facebook ads. So this is something that people are continuing to find that Facebook advertising is very effective. There's a lot of amazing segmentation opportunities, and we'll kind of walk through some of those as well. Some main things that you want to look at when it comes to social advertising, you want to explore where to add social within the journey. There's multiple kind of touch points that you might want to change the messaging depending on where your customers are within their journey, and we'll walk through that. You want to test out different ad formats on Facebook. There's a lot of different options. It can kind of be overwhelming. Definitely recommend getting some training within that tool if you're going to plan on doing it internally or reaching out to an agency who can help you out with that. And then dip your toe in influencer marketing. This is something that a lot of customers have been asking about in the last year, and a really great opportunity, again, for more than just B2C, so something to consider. So there's 4 steps of the customer journey to focus on within your Facebook advertising. The first one being awareness. You can see that kind of this example from Noom Coach. The ad says, "You aren't selling MySpace, so why are you doing Weight Watchers?" This is really raising awareness about a new way to lose weight and use their service or product. So they're not saying buy now or sign up now. Their call to action is learn more. So really driving awareness initially in that process. You wouldn't want to show this to current customers. You can definitely segment based off of that information within Facebook. The second step is consideration. So you're really going to be looking, why you should buy their service instead of someone else's. So this example from Dollar Shave Club is a great example of that. It gives you comparison for an informed buying decision. And this is really kind of pushing them closer towards that conversion, closer towards the purchase part. And so we're really encouraging them to sign up at this point rather than, the simple learn more prospect. So really giving them additional opportunities to consider your company versus the competitors. The third step in the journey is hopefully a purchase. So basically this is really encouraging that conversion, really making, getting ready to make that final sale. So giving them a discount. I love this opportunity for a discount on the first order. Again, you can segment this so this ad doesn't even appear to people who have made an order before. There's a lot of great opportunity to segment your audience with this, and this is a perfect example of how to do that. And finally, the repurchase. This is the fourth example, kind of in that journey, but really it's kind of a cyclical journey. So you can retarget your customers with specific products that they have previously purchased. I love this example. Did your little one ruin their cactus jumpsuit? Obviously, that's kind of jumping to a conclusion, but there's a lot of opportunities for this as well. We love products, especially that are replenishable, that it's something that if they need to replace an item, if they want to reorder an item, this is a wonderful opportunity to identify what that typical reorder cycle might be and to kind of put those products in front of them to revisit. So there's a lot of opportunity with remarketing, even for related products. You bought this, you might like this. So even if it's a repurchase or just an additional purchase, there's a lot of opportunity there to target those customers. So these are some typical Facebook ad options that everyone's familiar with. If you use Facebook a lot, each definitely has its own purpose. Obviously, if you don't have videos, those aren't going to be as effective. If you're using videos, keep them short, keep them very brief. The likelihood of someone watching a really long video is unlikely. If you don't have videos, you can definitely create a slideshow. We've seen kind of good options with that for particular customers. We personally like the carousel, especially if you're displaying products. It allows the opportunity to show specific products and their price points or a little short description and link to individual products, kind of like its own mini, I mean, it is a carousel, but its own mini shopping cart almost in some of those cases. And then if you've got like a big ticket item or lead generation, or you want to really do kind of a broader campaign, we do like the basic single image as well. So there's a lot of different ways to showcase your product or service on Facebook, and consider using some of these different ones for different ads and seeing which is most effective. So in addition, there's some more advanced Facebook ad options. You can use Canvas, which is basically just this really cool digital experience. We have tried it out for some of our clients. It's mixed messages on how effective it is. It does take a little bit longer to actually put the ad together, but I think this is very effective, especially if you're trying to get a distinct message across, something that's a little bit easier to show with a visual representation, a lot of imagery with some combined text, allows you to add some additional buttons in there. So I really like this option because it kind of creates a mini landing page, mini website for you. But again, it can be a little bit more time consuming. And one thing that we are also dabbling, and we love this option, is Facebook ads within Messenger. So the Facebook Messenger app that technically exists separately from Facebook has really grown in its capabilities within the last year. There's a lot of APIs that customers can use to tap into that Messenger functionality, including delivering order confirmation through that, having customer service information all go through Messenger. Now you can actually create ads within Messenger as well. So I am kind of predicting that we'll be seeing a huge increase in the number of ads that you see in Messenger, and how many companies are embracing that in 2018 as well. So taking a look at influencer marketing, again, this is something that a lot of our clients say, this sounds like it's for B2C only, but there really is a lot of opportunities. So influencers are bloggers, photographers, anyone who has a high engaged follower base and, kind of a high clout online. It's really giving the opportunity to get your company in front of their followers. So this can be really on any social platform, even on a blog, even on some offline channels as well. If you were to get a radio personality or someone, if you're a local business, to kind of influence your product, you're going to be very successful there as well. The benefit of this as well is that people are used to these influencers. They might follow them on Instagram, let's say, and they're very familiar with them and almost treat them as if they were an actual friend in real life, that they trust them and have a high level of confidence in them. So having someone endorse your product or brand is going to give you that additional social proof that people typically like to see, and will help to influence conversions. So 40% of people say they've purchased an item online after seeing it used by an influencer on Instagram, Twitter, Vine, or YouTube. So this, I think, will only continue to grow as people tap into influencer marketing even more. So how to get started? So first, you want to define your goal. So what is the point of the partnership? Why even bother doing influencer marketing? What do you want to come out of it? So this is definitely something that, you need someone to help you create content, create awareness, increase your sales. It can really change, and you might want to check with individual influencers to identify if it really matches up with you. So that's kind of the second step here, partnering with an influencer. Find someone who's authentic. It has an engaged follower base. So it's easy enough to find someone who is influential, but you want to be able to identify if they actually do have influence. So see if they have metrics to kind of prove their engagements with other companies as well. There's a lot of customers who will be able to match their brand and style with a particular influencer. Obviously, if you're a conservative, more professional brand, you don't want to be paired with someone who's edgy and outspoken. That might not be a great fit unless you're trying to tap into a different market. So again, this kind of tying in with defining your goals to find the right influencer or influencers. Also identify what's in it for them. So what's in it for the influencer? Why would they want to partner with you? Will you be able to give them additional feedback to get more exposure, more followers? Will you give them free gifts or perks, or maybe just monetary compensation for kind of endorsing your brand? There's also an opportunity to give them a percentage of the sales that originated from their post. So there's a lot of opportunity to get them involved there. And then finally, you want to make sure you're measuring your results. So after kind of the influencer campaign is going on, identify if it was effective for you. Try to define your key performance indicators initially to figure out what you're hoping to get out of it, and identify if it was successful, what you would have changed. Again, really going through that project management process and doing your lessons learned after the fact to identify if this is something that you would want to work on again. So there's a lot of different platforms out there. One of them is Revfluence. This is good for agencies or small businesses or brands that create in-house campaigns. It's a self-service platform that mainly focuses on content creation. Another one is Tap Fusion, and this is made for enterprise-level customers, not really small businesses or agencies. And you can view the performance of your campaigns across multiple social channels and filter reports. So there's a lot of different tools out there. These are just two that you might want to consider if you're just tapping into that. Some other tools that you want to consider using in 2018 to help you be the most successful that you can. Initially, we'll look at some Google tools and a couple of other tools that Whereoware does offer to help our clients get the most out of their marketing plans. So Google Analytics and Google Search Console, if you don't already have Google Analytics set up and you want to find a better way to identify if your campaigns are performing, we definitely recommend implementing Google Analytics. It's very easy. And also integrating Google Search Console to track search analytics as well. It gives you just a little bit of a deeper dive into what can be the most effective. Code Perfect is a library of customized email building blocks, basically HTML modules that have been vigorously tested by our internal team across a lot of email clients to produce what we call Code Perfect email templates. If getting email templates that are fully tested and guaranteed to work well on all email platforms is something that you're struggling with, maybe that was one of your bottlenecks in 2017, definitely consider using Code Perfect in 2018, and you can learn more at codeperfect.com. Product FASTLANE is a user-friendly product information management system that stores all the moving parts like product data, images, video, sales sheets, etc., that marketers manage every day to power their e-commerce websites, digital catalogs, emails, paid ads, etc. And marketers can basically upload their product data and then access all that data in this online tool, kind of refine it, search it, edit it, and organize everything from one centralized location, which definitely can save you time and erase some of those data headaches that might have faced a struggle in 2017. So this really allows you to take information, bring it all into one system, and then export it to a variety of other locations as well, and managing it all in one main platform. So for more information on that, you can visit productfastlane.com. A lot of our customers have found really great success with this and helping to minimize some of their product data headaches in 2017. So that's all I've got. Nora, I'm going to pass it over to you for some questions.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Faith. Just wanted to reiterate, we said this at the beginning, but if you joined in after I mentioned this, I just wanted to repeat. We will be sending the webinar recording, the webinar slides, and a 3-step checklist out in an email either today or tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. And with that, I'm just going to go through some of the questions that we got here. So when did the term target/demographic marketing change to persona marketing? Seems to be the same thing, or are they different?
That's an interesting question. So a lot of times, looking at a demographic would be it really is semantics. It kind of depends what you call it internally. We've got segmentation, you've got personas, you've got target demographic, all that kind of thing. Really, the way that I look at a persona is being able to assign basically a person's name to a standard, or we also call them visitor groups. So don't worry too much about what word you use to define those kind of segments, if you will. The most important thing is identifying who belongs in each of those segments. So sometimes when you look at a demographic, you might say, females between the ages of 25 and 40. And so that's what I would consider to be like a demographic segment. But a persona would be, maybe a little bit deeper than that. So females 25 to 40 who purchase a specific type of product. So that would kind of go out of the demographic label if you're adding in some additional information. Some of that information could be purchase history, it could be visit history, it could be interactions. You might have a specific persona of customers who only, purchase certain products and only purchase them on their mobile device. So you can get really, really specific with your personas, but typically if you've got that demographic information to start with, that's a good start. And then you can kind of add on some additional elements to really create a more solid persona. And again, there's additional details on kind of the steps through creating those personas on our blog if you just search for persona, I believe.
Awesome. Thank you so much for clarifying that. Let me see what else we have here. What suggestions do you have for re-engaging people for a services business?
Re-engaging people for services. It's definitely something that if you have a typical timeline for re-engagement, so if there is a normal service threshold that people would sign an additional contract or inquire about your services, it really varies depending on the business. But I would encourage creating an automated email campaign and also attaching that to social channels if that's relevant to your business, to send automated emails at whatever interval is most relevant to your business, to say, come back and purchase this service again. It can really vary. I love the example, though, of getting an oil change that it's going to be every approximately 3,000 miles. So businesses can set a time frame for how long does it typically take for someone to reach 3,000 miles, and then reach out to that customer when it's about that time frame, encouraging them to get their oil change and come in. And if they are unlikely to come in by predicting a churn model, you might want to offer them a coupon. So that's just one example. Your service business might be more of an annual thing, and it might be something that you want to have additional lead time to encourage that sell-through. They might only purchase in 1 month of the year, so you might want to try and target them throughout the year to plan that purchase. But that can definitely be effective in re-engaging those customers.
Great, thanks so much. Kind of going similarly, like non-B2C question here. What social channels do you feel are most relevant for a B2B business?
In general, I would say LinkedIn can be very relevant. It really does depend on your business. I would take a look at where the influencers are within your space. It can really vary depending on the industry. Sometimes LinkedIn can be a wonderful opportunity for business services and anything B2B that tends to be a little bit more technical, I suppose, really looking at where your target market is interacting. Beyond that, it can really vary. I have seen some B2B businesses be very effective on social. It just really depends. Again, look at where your customer base is, and I like to look at where they are during the workday. So the reason that B2C is so effective on Facebook, let's say, is because people are shopping and they're looking on Facebook during all hours of the day and night. But potentially, on LinkedIn, if you're looking B2B, people might only be on that channel between the hours of 9 and 5. So you really want to look at where your target market is engaging the most and go from there. One recommendation I have is to actually just Google your industry and see if you can find any metrics on where your customers are engaging either during the business day or where they're most likely to kind of live, hang out during the day. And that will help identify which channels might be the most effective. The other way to go about it is just test it out. Try a couple of different ad campaigns on some different channels and see what brings you the most revenue.
Great, thanks so much. Similarly, talking about different social media, is influencer marketing still relevant if I'm not in consumer products?
I definitely think it's still relevant if you're not in consumer products. It can really vary. I mean, I think that initially people look at influencer marketing like, the woman who's going to try out your makeup, or, they're going to put on some apparel. They're very, very much like consumer packaged goods branding elements. But I think that there's a lot of opportunity to find an influencer that is in your industry. Sometimes you can even just Google influencer in blank industry, whatever that is. You might be able to find a blogger who is, popular in your B2B space. You might be able to find a popular publication that can be seen as an influencer, and maybe you're advertising through that publication, or doing an op-ed article within that publication to kind of influence your brand. Really also looking at the opportunity to be a thought leader within that brand. There's a lot of different ways to find influence that is not necessarily on a social channel either. So it might be through a blog, it might be through a website or additional publication. Again, it's really, really important to find where your customers are, where you're going to be able to influence them the most, and then kind of working backwards from there to identify who the influencers are on that channel, and then which one you want to work through from there. So sometimes you might have to go the other way around instead of starting channel first, start, by identifying where your customers are going to be, and then finding the influencer from there.
And kind of piggybacking off of that, how would you approach an influencer once you find them and you think you want to work with them? Kind of like, what's that next step to reaching out? Do you use one of those platforms, or do you reach out directly?
So it depends. If they're on one of those platforms, I would definitely reach out through the platform. There's a lot of influencers that if they're a legitimate business and do this a lot, that they might have a request form if they have a website for that influence. Sometimes they have it might be called influencer request or blogger request or something of that effect. If they don't have one of those forms, or maybe if they actually haven't been targeted as an influencer before and you're kind of pioneering that with them, you can definitely just reach out to them individually and talk about, is this something that you'd be interested in, just to start up that conversation. So even just a simple email, something, would you be interested in writing a blog post on our behalf in exchange for XYZ? There's no real rule on it, and it definitely depends on the influencer. So try a platform. I do know as well that there are some platforms that are more industry specific. So there are some that are really specific to the CPG industry, more B2C focused. But there's something for everyone out there. So a quick Google search will hopefully help you to find a good influencer. But there's definitely some additional strategies for getting in contact with the right one.
Great. I think we have time for one more question. I'd like to end basically right at 12 o'clock. So I'm on a small team. I don't have all the resources it takes to do everything on the list. So what do you suggest focusing on first?
Good question. Definitely going mobile. I mean, I think that's not even as, campaign specific. Definitely update your website in general to be more mobile friendly, especially with that email sign up pop over. Google is looking more and more at mobile friendliness as a really key indicator of where you show up within search results. And organic search can be such a strong part of your marketing strategy that if you're not doing that, it can really hurt you in the long run. So I'd start there. Probably pause on the behavioral marketing piece. Is kind of all the items in this presentation that were after step 3. If you've got a smaller team, there's also a great opportunity, to reach out to either freelancers or to reach out to an agency for additional help, someone who's got that expertise. But yeah, I would initially just start with optimizing your mobile channels, and then maybe from there, still setting those benchmarks, identifying where the gaps are in between what you would like to do and what you're capable of doing. Setting those goals for yourself as well will really help to make sure you can get as much done as possible, and really from a strategic standpoint as well.
Great, thanks so much, Faith. And with that, we're gonna end the webinar today. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. If we didn't get to your question, we'll try to follow up afterwards. And look out for that email coming out either later this afternoon or tomorrow morning with the follow-up items. So thanks so much, everybody. I look forward to having you on our next webinar. Bye-bye.